Welcome, guys. Would you like to have the power to influence people on an unconscious level, or even to influence yourself? If the answer is yes, then keep watching because that is the topic of today's video. By the end of it, you will be able to give unconscious commands to people that affect people's moods, thoughts, and actions, and you will have the right framework to construct your own guided meditation. So to give a little bit of background, I've started this series a couple of weeks ago where I wanted to teach myself a bit more about guided meditation and conversational hypnosis. I read a couple of really good books on it, but this has always been a topic that you read something about it and you understand the concept, but it's very hard to implement. I don't know if you guys had that experience as well. A lot of these self-help books, personal development books, the theory is pretty sound, but the application of it is always a bit harder. So for that purpose, I created this series for myself to go into the details of the steps that are needed for conversational hypnosis or guided meditation. If you watch the previous videos, you know that they're pretty similar, they're doing the same thing. To explain to you guys step by step what the building blocks of such a framework are, with the final goal of creating our own guided meditation, which you can make fit for your own uses. So this is basically the final video. We have discussed in the past videos about what inductions are. We explained piggybacking, pacing and leading. And in this final video, I will explain about giving subconscious commands. And we will discuss the framework. Basically, it's a very simple framework, but it's a very powerful framework that you can use to create the guided meditation or inductions to go into a deeper state, give commands to your subject or to yourself, and then bring them back out again. So the final building block that I want to mention before going into the big framework is commanding or giving suggestions. The idea is that, and I discussed this before as well in one of my earlier videos, whichever words you say or you hear, in order to understand what these words mean, you have to bring up an image or a feeling of that word. So your brain basically has these small folders, registers that, for instance, if I say elephant, your brain goes to that folder elephant, opens it up, and then it sees everything that you associate with the word elephant, which includes like some images or maybe some experiences you had with elephants. So that's the only way that the brain can fully understand what elephant means, which means that whenever you say a certain combination of words, for instance, related to feeling, the person who hears these words, in order to understand them, has at some level has to go to those registers and understand and go back to that feeling. So if I talk to you and I say, allow yourself to be relaxed, in order to understand what relaxed means, you have to bring back a little bit of that feeling of relaxation, of what it means to be relaxed. And then the fact that you experience that, or that you bring that up, means that you're also comparing it to your current state of feeling, of being. And then you realize there's a difference between this feeling and what I'm currently at. So that's a very interesting mechanism that is happening there. And that's basically what you use in order to, well, strictly speaking, we call it commanding, but you could also, suggestion is also often used. So you are basically suggesting to the unconscious mind, like, hey, you could also experience this kind of feeling. You could. And because, as I discussed in earlier videos as well, you are trying to take away the critical factor that would, in a logical way, respond and say, but hey, why should I be relaxed? Because you've bypassed that, or you gained enough connection to the person that the critical factor will let you pass. That's where you can directly enter that register and suggest to that person, okay, this is something you need to feel. So that is the very basic concept of commanding someone. There are a couple of interesting things to point out, and we will go a bit deeper as the video continues, where I'll go into concrete examples. But what is very nice to know is that in sentences we use a lot of filler words that are not necessarily related to any experience or memory that we have. For instance, a very clear one is not. You cannot have an experience of not, or of like a negation, let's say. So I say, I'm not saying you should be relaxed. Your brain doesn't understand this on a conceptual level. Your brain understands you should be relaxed. But I'm not saying you should be relaxed. You see that there's no way that your brain can experience the not. It can only experience you should be relaxed. And then in your rational mind is like, okay, he's not saying it, but he's saying somewhere else. So the rational mind is waiting for what I am actually saying, while the unconscious mind is trying to understand this other part. So on your unconscious level, the not is not something that can be experienced. It's the absence of something. But that's a pretty cool trick that you can use, because you're also breaking down the resistance, the rational resistance, because I'm not saying that you should be relaxed. You can play with that a little bit more by doing the double negation, which kind of keeps the rational brain also occupied by saying, I'm not saying you shouldn't be relaxed. So like, you're not saying I shouldn't be relaxed. So should I be relaxed? So the double negation is also a very nice trick. You can play around with that. And you sometimes it's not even needed, right? If you've brought people in a deep enough trance, then it doesn't really matter. You don't need to use these tricks. But especially at the beginning, when you are leading them down into a more susceptible state, these things can be very useful. And then there are a couple of other ways. You can also say, well, the main thing that you want to avoid is saying, relax. What you want to say is allow yourself to relax, allow yourself to drift. So you want to do it in a very soft way. You want to give the suggestions really in a way that you're not actually commanding. So like the commanding word is maybe not the right thing, because it's always very, very subtle. And also what is very beautiful is if you use the word now. So you can, if you want to command someone to do something at this moment, you can use the word now. But now can also mean like kind of following that. Let me give a very concrete example for that. I'm not saying you should try to relax now. There are a couple of things that I want to mention to you. So basically the sentence is, I'm not saying you should be relaxed. And the second sentence, now, there are a couple of things that I want to mention to you. But in this context, the brain is a little bit confused and it hears, you should be relaxed now. And that's a command. That's where you are highlighting the fact, and you're also using your tone in order to, like a downward tone, in order to really make it a command that the unconscious brain understands, aha, this is something I should do now. That's just a little bit of a trick, and you can play with that as well. So the fact is that it's very, very tricky to use these things in day-to-day life if you haven't gotten these sentences really like down, because the delivery is everything. That's why a guided meditation is the perfect medium to practice these things. But in the end, in a conversational situation, you can use these and they will work, because you can use your pace and your tone, and you can use these mechanisms like the double negation and the suggesting of certain things that will work, because people are not thinking at that level. They don't understand how their own unconscious mind works. Well, now you do. So if you're watching this video, have a look around and see how people might be using this for you. But these are just a couple of examples. At least we have all the building blocks that we need in order to create our own guided meditation. So I don't want to spend too much time and dive in right now. So what's the basic concept? We use words, tone of voice, and pace to bring a person in a desired state, which is a trance, which can be heightened awareness or more relaxation or anything that fits the goal. Then in that state, we are at the base code level of the brains, and we can interface on a more deep level. Here we can leave suggestions that will finally reprogram the brain from the inside out. So one thing to realize as well, we use this beautiful metaphor, which is programming, and you have the term even neuro-linguistic programming, that suggests that like a piece of code, like a script, we can go in there and reprogram it, and then we press play and then it works. It is an interesting metaphor and it's very useful. However, we need to realize that it is not a thing that, at the lowest level, it's more like a garden. And you're going deep down and I think they discuss about this in Inception, the movie. Like, you're going down and you're planting a seed. You're planting a seed in the unconscious mind, and then it takes a while for the unconscious mind to have that grow and grow and grow up to the outer levels. That's why you might also need to, or you can, go and do these guided meditations with yourself a couple of times before, enough seeds have been planted and the garden is flourishing completely. And so it might be that you need a couple of suggestions for really deeply rooted suggestion. That being said, basically the thing that you want to do, and that's for simplicity's sake, I've created this trance flow chart. What we want to do is we kind of want to start with an introduction, and then we want to go deeper into a trance state. For this specific video that I want to create, I've created a second level, but you can go as deep as you think you need. Sometimes you really want to go extremely deep. It's basically dependent on how much time you want to spend and how much resistance you expect for that specific topic. And that's, I think, something that you just need to learn by experience. I cannot give you that much guidance on it, but I like to go, for this case, at least 2 levels deep, and then we go back out, and then there's an outro. So the introduction I will keep very basic, so experience based. What are you experiencing at the moment, etc. Then the level 1, I have a nice metaphor that I came up with of a plane. So basically someone sitting in a plane, and then the plane taking off. And then in that plane, the second level will be a dream. So a person falls asleep in the plane and then has a dream. And in that dream, that's where we make our suggestions that we actually want to give. Then that person wakes up again in the plane, and the plane has then arrived. And that's when you have the outro. So you have like experiential stuff like sit down, close your eyes, etc. Imagine you're in a plane, experience of the plane. Then imagine falling asleep in the plane, having the dream. Dream is suggestion. From the dream, you wake up, you realize you're in the plane. Hey, the plane has almost arrived. Plane is arriving, and then we have the outro. So that means, well, we have a very smooth curve of different experiences, different parts of the story that take you a level deeper into your unconscious mind, where you're more susceptible for the suggestions, and then you go back out into the normal world, leaving you with a great feeling and having achieved the things that you want to achieve. So that is the basic outline. So we need a goal. That's the thing that we need to start with. For me, the goal is, I thought about this, and this is something you can make fit for your own personal needs. Getting into the flow state. I really love this concept of the flow state. I love when I'm in it. And I think it's very much related to kind of letting things happen. You never really know during the day where you're going to end up, how things will go. And being a bit open to that and curious, saying at the beginning of the day, hey, I wonder what will happen today. Where will life bring me? And knowing that you are always at the right place at the right time. That's kind of the concept that I want to highlight. So a guided meditation will be something you can listen to in the morning, just to prime yourself to be at exactly the right place at exactly the right time. So I will use a story in order to go the deeper levels. You can also keep it purely experiential. So I checked out a couple of guided meditations yesterday, and what they usually do is just keep it at the first level, where they think like, okay, just focus on your breath, focus on your heartbeat, whatever. I think it can work, but I think it's just a bit more powerful if you take that first to focus the mind, and then take a story in order to lead them a bit deeper. It's easier to keep the unconscious mind connected to that if you go deeper, in my opinion. So that's what I will do. I will use stories. We'll use experiences. Also, something that you can directly point out is the feeling of feeling more distracted. So something I want to use is that you are in this guided meditation, and you might realize that your mind is wandering, but that is okay. Or because your unconscious mind is wandering, that just means because your conscious mind is wandering, that just means that your unconscious mind is fully focused on what I'm saying. And then we'll go down and back up. And then finally, if you have everything figured out, like the whole script, basically, you need to write a script for this. What you want to do is think about how you want to present it. I think I'll play around with that a little bit. I haven't figured it out completely, but I will first want to write the script and then walk you guys through it. And then you will probably see in the final result how it happened. Maybe I'll make 2 versions, let's see. So for the people at home who also want to do it, you need to have a goal. You can also use the 2-level concept for now if you want to follow what I'm doing. So you need to have an intro, you need to have 2 kind of metaphors, you have a goal, and then you can basically get started. So write down per chapter, per scene, what you want to have happen in that scene, and then try to use the previously explained building blocks to fill up that storyline. So I will walk through parts of my story in order not to fully spoil it if you want to also listen to the guided meditation, but to explain what is happening, what I'm doing. So we'll start off with the introduction. So we just start with welcome to this guided meditation. Find a comfortable position and allow your shoulders to soften. Let your hands rest easily. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. So this is just very basic introduction. We are still at the conscious level, so I'm just telling people what is the starting position, and take a deep breath is the basic start of it. As you settle down, a lot of things might be going through your mind, and that is okay. So you are settling down. I'm using the fact that you are settling down, and I'm telling you, as you settle down, a lot of things might be going through your mind, and that's okay. This is a statement that is also going to be 100% true. This is the start of a piggybacking sequence. You don't need to be fully focused on every word I'm saying, because your unconscious mind is always listening. Allow yourself to drift, and as you become more and more relaxed and comfortable, you will realize that your mood and thoughts have shifted, because your unconscious mind takes in everything you hear. And that's why you can simply focus on your experience and be relaxed. So this is a bit of a piggybacking sequence where I'm logically connecting things that you are experiencing, like feeling a bit distracted, maybe realizing that you cannot focus on every single thing, that your brain is tired or excited and it's already starting to drift away. But that's okay, because your unconscious mind is always listening. Like the air, like the sound waves are always coming to your ear, and then your unconscious mind is filtering what is going to be accepted. So you can allow yourself to drift. I'm saying allow yourself to drift. And as you become more and more relaxed and comfortable, so because I made all these true statements, you will allow yourself to drift. And I say, as you become more and more comfortable, so I'm suggesting that you are becoming more and more comfortable, you will realize that your mood and thoughts have shifted. So mood and thoughts, like maybe this is something very subtle. So that's something that you start to focus on. Has my mood shifted? Have my thoughts shifted? You are already redirecting the focus. So it doesn't really matter if it has happened up until that point. It is going to happen once I say it, because your unconscious mind takes in everything you hear. And that's why you can simply focus on your experience and being relaxed. So you don't even need to listen. You can just focus on what you are experiencing and just experience and relax. So that's the start. Then I follow up by saying, bring your awareness to the steady rhythm of your breath, in and out. You will realize that your breath follows your rhythm. And because of that, as soon as you shift your focus, you will also start to breathe deeply and comfortably. In this case, I am suggesting at the beginning, breathe in and out a certain rhythm. The person will start to follow it, and they will realize if that rhythm is comfortable for them or if I took them out of that rhythm. So I will double take on the fact that they have their own rhythm, and because you have your own rhythm, as soon as you shift your focus on the breath, you realize like, hey, am I breathing comfortably or not, or was this not my rhythm? And then once you focus on that, you realize, hey, Now I begin to start and breathe in a deep and comfortable way. So this was the full intro, experiential part of that. So what you can actually experience as a person sitting in the position that you are sitting at the moment. Now, let's go on a trip. Remember the last time you stepped onto an airplane. That's right. The narrow aisles, the strange people, travelers you've never seen before and will never see again. So, I'm suggesting time that someone stepped onto an airplane. So I'm not trying to explain to them all the details of my last experience, because that could have been completely different. I want to let the unconscious mind fully paint a picture of what it is like to step onto an airplane. And I'm saying that's right, to give a confirmation that whatever they're thinking about is correct. Narrow aisles, I think, like, unless you are commonly flying on like a first class plane or a private plane, everyone knows this. Strange people, people you might never see again. This is a very common experience. And you might remember certain people from your flight, or you just have them as a crowd around you. Imagine finding your seat next to the window. You sit down, and the seat is surprisingly comfortable. Sure, there are people speaking and softly murmuring as they try to find their own seat, as there may be sounds around you right now. But you can't help but to feel surprisingly comfortable. So I'm suggesting that something interesting happens. Usually if you sit in your airplane chair, it's not that comfortable, but I'm suggesting that this specific seat next to the window is surprisingly comfortable. And then I'm backtracking a bit to the fact that you might hear kind of distractions around you. You might not be super deep into the trance yet. So I'm saying, like, the people around you, everyone's trying to settle down a little bit, as you are. So you might still hear some distracting sounds here or there, as you might actually experience the place where you are right now. But still you realize that it is surprisingly comfortable. And while you are adjusting your position a bit to make it even more pleasant, you are imagining how such a comfortable airplane chair would look in your living room. So I will leave it at this now. I just wanted to explain the last line. I want to give a listener this additional opportunity to not feel very stiff and rigid, that they are allowed to actually adjust their position to make it more comfortable for them. This is not like a physical exercise. You should just like sit comfortably. And while you are doing that, you are imagining how such a comfortable airplane chair would look in your living room. So this is a bit of a funny one and a surprising suggestion. So people cannot help but to imagine in their own mind, maybe you've also had the experience right now, what an airplane chair would look in your living room. It would probably look pretty terrible, but it's the suggestion. You cannot not imagine it when I say this. And I say that as you imagine this, and while you are adjusting your position a bit to make it even more comfortable, you are imagining how such a comfortable airplane would look in your living room. So I'm giving you I will allow you to adjust your seat, because you are imagining that airplane chair, which means that you are allowed to move your seat. So this is the first part, introduction. I will not go through the details fully, but I want you guys to comment below if you could understand the things that are happening right now. So I'm just trying to take the listener deeper and deeper, and I've introduced this airplane situation at the moment. What I will do is I will record the full guided meditation right now, and if you're interested, I will put it here so that you can directly click on it. These videos will be released simultaneously. Let me know what you think about these kind of videos. I hope you have a pretty good guideline on to do this, on how to do this yourself, to create your own guided meditation using this V-level framework. So starting with the intro, taking people deeper, giving suggestions, and then taking people out. I think I will probably give a line-by-line explanation. So it will probably just be the guided meditation video, but then I will add notes and with the text on screen what is happening, so you can just look at that and take the learnings from that. And if you guys want, let me know in the comments, and I can highlight a little bit more if you need that explanation. So thank you guys so much for watching. It was extremely fun to do this. I am also very happy with the meditation that came out. I would actually suggest to you that if you want to use this guided meditation, just save it, and then you can listen to it maybe every morning. It shouldn't take that long, and it's a really nice start of the day. That being said, thank you guys. Like the video. Like the video if you liked the video. Comment below if you want to have more information or if you didn't like something so much. And don't forget to have a great day.